me, Joe! Today I got my glasses. Oh, wow. Today I got my glasses on, and that's because we're reading an article, and I gotta look smart. This is the show where I read something, you read it with me, we both learn something. And today's article stood out to me because I actually work in startups as my day job. I start businesses for a living. And not small businesses, I'm talking about big scale tech startups. What that means, because we're starting from ground zero, just the idea stage, just a thought in our minds into something major, names are very important. There's a lot of debate in the industry on how important, I don't know why I have these on, oh my god. We're not listening to a video today. There's a debate in the industry on how important names are and whether or not a name can make or break your business. Hint, I think they can. I think names are actually very, very important. I don't think that Google, for example, would be as big as it is with a different name. I mean, we can look at Yahoo, not as big as Google. There's something great about the name Google. I have read online something about double letters, the OOGOO, really adds to like the catchiness of a name. When I saw this article today, it's a very short article. Again, it's a much smaller portion of a larger newsletter. The newsletter is called The Hustle. It's a daily newsletter. I highly recommend you subscribe to it. You can go to thehustle.co to find it. And this is a portion of the newsletter called Odd Jobs, where they interview somebody with an odd job. And so the title for this was The Poet Who Doubles as a Professional Brand Namer. I think poets are actually very well positioned to be namers. I would love to have a business card that said namer on it. One of my favorite books, Name of the Wind, there's a class of magic called Name Magic, and there's namers, and man, I would love to be a namer. So let's read how or what her process is in naming a business, product, or service. The way Stevie Belcheck sees it, naming a new company is a lot like writing a poem. I hope I said her name right. Belcheck. It has to be. Belcheck is a senior naming manager. She kind of has the job title namer. She's a senior naming manager at Catchword, and she's branded major products for clients like Johnson & Johnson, Microsoft, and Intel. She's also a poet, and she points out that poets are trained in the art of capturing the image with unique wordplay, exactly what you would want in a good brand name. Plus, poetic devices like alliteration are what make names like Sweet Green and Fitbit pop. What does a pro namer actually do though? When a new client walks in the door, Belcheck asks a few questions. What message will the right name convey? Do you want a regular English word like apple or a mashup like Netflix? From there, she looks through lists of synonyms and reads magazines in that company's industry. She also glances at a database of idioms and wordnik.com. I'm going to click those links in a second, but I will say part of my process is to do similar things, going to the dictionary and looking up common words, and then also going online and looking at industry blogs and industry websites and leaders to see what kind of words they're using or if there's any sort of lingo around that industry. So we have a similar process already. I did not think, however, to look at idioms. I think that's a really, really interesting thing. Idioms are kind of cultural, and they're things like an apple a day keeps the doctor away. So that's an American English idiom. And wordnik.com, I'm not sure what the website is. So let's look at a database of idioms real quick. Let's see what this website brings us. This is the free dictionary, idioms and phrases. Does it have... So idiom of the day, hot desking. I don't think this is where you poop on someone's desk, but boy does it sound like it. The act or practice of sharing desks or workstations between employees in an office as to cut down on the amount of office space required. Hot desking, this is very common in co-working spaces. You can get a hot desk where you just sit down wherever you feel like that's open and you can start working. Super common in the startup world and in co-working. So this is the idiom website. I'm curious to see, I guess, how do I find idioms though? Live searches, whatever. I have to search. They don't just give me idioms. I can't just like see idioms, the popular idioms. No. Interesting. Okay, maybe I just don't know how to use the website. On a short leash. Let's see here. On a short leash. Oh, there we go. So I guess you can see a list of idioms on the side being searched. Cool, so that's the idiom way, and I believe the use in that is like, for example, if you're starting a co-working space, hot desk, that could be the name of either a product or it could be the name of your co-working space. You could just call it Hot Desk. That sounds like a startup name. That sounds like a business name. Hot Desk. Perfect. Wordnik. Look up any word or phrase. Hot Desk. Why not? Definitions. Alternative form of hot desk. Apparently I didn't pick up that one. Let's see here. Pickup. Pickup. The act or process of picking up. In sports, the act of striking or fielding a ball after it has touched the ground. You pick up, like in baseball when the ball's on the ground. Capacity or acceleration. Yeah, for pickup, like a pickup truck. This is actually pretty interesting. This gives me kind of like alternative definitions that I probably wouldn't have in a dictionary, and a little bit of slang terms as well. I like this. This is a cool website. Once in a while, she says, the job requires taking a step back and finding unlikely sources of creativity. A popular ski trail might inspire the name of a beer, for example. When it's all said and done, Belchak hands over anywhere from 100 to 2,000 possible names to her client. 100 to 2,000 possible names to her client. That's a lot of names. That sounds like a lot of names, but there's a great podcast called Startup, which is actually a podcast about starting a podcast company from Gimlet Media. That podcast company that was started in the podcast startup eventually went on to be acquired by Spotify a couple years later, started by Alex Bloomberg. But there's an episode on the first season of Startup where you can actually hear how they get the name Gimlet Media. It's a super interesting listen. I'll link it in the description below if you want to listen. What's trending in the names biz? Belchak says startups are loving straightforward English words like nest, kayak, or wallet. But we might also be on the cusp of new COVID-fueled naming trends. Belchak pointed to the video conferencing app as being ahead of the curve. That's funny because, as I mentioned, I do startups for a living and I name some of them, a lot of our projects. And we had one project that involved fresh air and like heating and cooling and just like, revitalizing the air around you. And I named the project, it's just kind of like I couldn't find anything else and it just sounded kind of nice. So I went with, We didn't end up moving forward with, but is in the same vein. I guess your boy's ahead of the curve. Boom, boom, boom. We're looking for things that bring us joy, Belchak says, and I think names can offer consumers a surprise and delight that they are missing. Going back to the beginning of the article, it mentioned that Belchak worked at a naming firm called Catchword. So I wanted to go quickly at the end of this video through their portfolio and just look at some of their highlights, things that they're really proud of. Let's see here, we've got Asana, which is like a project management company. Zip, One, Flex, and Force are wearable watches from Fitbit. Atlas is a car. Voodoo is a movie streaming platform. Starbucks refreshers are a beverage from Starbucks. Optane is a B2B tech product. Optane. Refresh Relievera. FireEye is a cybersecurity company. GoMotion is a platform. Croissant Stuffers are Dunkin' Donuts food product. Upwork, I know Upwork, that's a freelancing website. They've got some good names in here. I actually like a lot of the names that they have here. Asana actually really stands out. They are proud of that one, it sounds like. Asana is a software company formed by Facebook co-founder Dustin blah blah blah. So the company's name needed to stand out from the IT herd. Asana is a Sanskrit word conveying yoga pose. Reflects the founders' love of yoga and their quest for focus, flow, and clarity. It's a project management software. They want you to stay focused, they want you to be in your flow, and they want you to have clarity on the status of your projects. I think it's a great word choice. Great naming. It does stand out from IT. It has a nice mouth to feel it. Asana. It feels good saying it. It sounds relaxing. I dig it. Asana is a big win for Catchword. So that is her process. And I hope that in me reading this and also sharing my process, you maybe picked up on some ways to go about naming. Things like looking at idioms, going through the dictionary, reading magazines, going through blogs in the industry, popping other words into WordNick, and overall finding inspiration from a variety of different places, but then also being on top of industry trends like one-word, straightforward English names, nest, or kayak. And that's been today's Joe Show. If you like my content, hit that subscribe button below. Let me know. Mash that bell so you can get a notification every time I upload a video. If you have ideas for a show or read a cool article, you can send it to hijoeshow@gmail.com. Otherwise, I release these daily, so I'll see you tomorrow. In the meantime, read something good. This has been the Joe Show. I love you.